Draft is widely considered the highest representation of skill in Magic. It is one of those things that you can never really get tired of because each and every run is a different experience. And that experience evolves as you discover new strategies and combinations. A good set will have unlimited possibilities of how you can choose to play the game. I'm Deathsie, I'm a draft specialist on Twitch, and today I am going to be showing you how to draft on Magic the Gathering Arena. The mode that I want to emphasize today is actually a Magic Arena exclusive mode, and I think that it is extremely special and unique and very valuable, especially if you are somebody who's either returning to Magic or if you might just not be familiar with all the cards in the set. So Quick Draft is a draft where instead of those 7 other players, you are seated down together with 7 AI. And what that means is that you can essentially take your time to read the cards, take your time to make a pick, and you can also take breaks in between. I am quite fond of Quick Draft. I think that this is the best learning tool. If you ever need to learn the most current draft format, Quick Draft is going to be what I recommend on Magic the Gathering Arena. So today, let's jump into a draft. All right, so the makeup of each pack, there's going to be 1 rare, which is in the top left, followed by 3 uncommons next to it. 1, 2, 3. Outside of that, there are going to be 10 commons. You are also going to have access to basic dual lands. Okay, so basic dual lands, these are non-basic lands, so you are going to have to pick these if you want them in your deck. Now, any draft deck is allowed to have any number of basics for free. So that's plains, island, swamp, mountain, and forest. And those are all going to be available for free. One of the things that I want to emphasize in drafting is that, especially as a new player, just try to have fun. Okay, and one of the most important things is just playing what you want. A general guideline, if you don't really know what you want, one of the acronyms that we like to follow is BREAD. Now, BREAD stands for bombs, removal, evasion, aggro, and duds. Essentially, bombs being high quality cards, followed by removal spells, also known as ways to interact with your opponent's creatures, ways to get threats off of the board. Evasion, things that have keywords. In this pack specifically, we have something with flying, right? Flying is going to be a form of evasion. Just ways to try to get through a board stall if your opponent has a lot of creatures on board. How do you get through it? The final D stands for duds. So duds are just going to be cards that you aren't that excited about, just the bottom of the barrel, cards that you don't have to pick up highly. So in this pack, we have Namada. Namada is going to be a sweet bomb rare. This is something that's very special in this format, has a lot of text. It is well statted, 4 mana, 3/4, has reach, and also it exiles things from your opponent if they die, which is important because there's a lot of ways to bring stuff back in this format from your graveyard. So Namada, very powerful card, very happy to pick it up here. So let's go. We did pick up a black and green card first. Now, the black and green card, we don't necessarily have to be black and green, but Namada is a very powerful one, and I would like to play it if possible. So looking at the black and green cards here, again, we have this Mossburn Ancient, a little bit expensive, but it's a big creature, and it also gains you life, and it also has a little bit of, not necessarily evasion, but it has Trample. Trample is going to be a way to get damage through your opponent's creatures, and your opponent can't just throw a 1/1 in front of it, for example. And then we have Extinguish the Light. It's a solid removal spell, 4 mana, instant speed, destroy target creature or planeswalker. If its mana value was 3 or less, you're also going to gain 3 life. So 2 cards that are pretty good for us here and keep us in the route of black-green so that we can possibly play Namada. I'm just going to pick up the Mossbeard Ancient. I think that this is borderline bomb. I also prefer to pick uncommons over commons if possible early on, because as the packs get passed around, there are going to be less valuable cards. All right, so the rare is still in this pack. Shadowrite Priest, 2 mana, 2 other clerics you control get +1/+1. You can tap and sacrifice another cleric, search your library for a black creature card, and then you can put it straight onto the battlefield. Then shuffle. That seems pretty powerful if we can get other clerics together. And we already have a Namada that is a pretty good thing to go grab and to slap on the board. Also have Urborg's Repossession. This is one of my favorite cards of the set. 1 mana sorcery with kicker 2. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Now, if you kicked it, so if you spent that extra mana to pay for the kicker cost, you get to return another target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Now, Shadowrite Priest, there are not a lot of clerics in the format. I think that we're just going to pick up Urborg's Repossession. This is, for me, the bread and butter of non-aggressive decks in the format. Super powerful card, and normally, even though I would prefer to pick up the rare, I think that this card is actually a rare power level card. So I was going to take this. Wow, Wingmantle Chaplain. Oh my goodness. So Wingmantle Chaplain, this is one of the cards that is very special in this format. This format has a slight defender sub-theme. And together with that, Wingmantle Chaplain, for every single defender you have or defenders you play after Wingmantle Chaplain, you get 1/1 birds. So this is going to be the E of bread, and that is evasion. I think this is both the B, the R, and the E. So all of the above of the bread acronym. It is a bomb. It the 1/1s can serve as removal spells, or maybe like you can chump block stuff to buy you time, as well as evasion. So just 1/1 birds can just win in the sky. Really powerful card. And outside of that, we don't really see any black and green cards that we're that excited by. Let's go ahead and pick the Wingmantle Chaplain up. So again, you don't have to play every single card of your draft. So it is acceptable to every once in a while make a sort of speculation, right? There have been situations in draft formats where even in this spot, I end up not being a black-green deck. So once again, just see what you like, see what sort of direction the packs are telling you to go in. For example, if there are no longer good black or green cards, we could maybe move over to a different color. In this pack, we're excited by Electrostatic Infantry, 2 mana 1/2 trample. Whenever you cast instant sorcery, you put a counter on this guy, as well as Phyrexian Rager. 3 mana 2/2 enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose a life. Phyrexian Rager is going to keep us in these colors here. I think that that's going to be a better decision than picking up Electrostatic Infantry. After Phyrexian Rager, I would actually consider Haunted Mire. So this is a black-green land, and it's going to help us cast our cards, especially if we're trying to play white for Wingmantle Chaplain. Here, though, I am going to pick up Phyrexian Rager. I think that this is a little bit more important than a land at the moment. All right, so looking at black and green cards, the pack is whittling down. Not too many exciting things for us in this pack. Choking Miasma is an interesting one. 3 mana sorcery. It essentially gives everything on the board -2/-2 until end of turn. And then if you paid 1 green to kick it, then you can put a counter on one of your creatures as well. So you can potentially save, say if you had a Phyrexian Vivisector on the board, you could save it from dying to your own Miasma by putting a counter on it. We already have access to green as well, assuming that we are going to be a black-green deck. And the Miasma is pretty interesting. I think that we can possibly go a more controlling route. We have a card that gets cards back. We have cards that replace themselves. We have some bombs and also a big giant monster with life gain. So playing for that late game actually is going to be something that we're very interested in. Let's go ahead and pick up Choking Miasma here. Tattered Apparition. This is a card with evasion. 4 mana 2/2 flying, and then has a pump ability. You can spend 1 and a black. It's going to get +1/+1 until end of turn. It is a relatively slow one. I think that this is not going to be a card that we need at all. You know, perfectly serviceable card, but here I'm looking at Floriferous Vinewall, 2 mana 0/2 defender, which also grabs a land, and also Tangled Islet, in case we're blue. Now, Wingmantle Chaplain does want us to have other defenders, so I am going to go ahead and pick up Vinewall. I think this is perfect for a deck. Our deck wants a lot of mana. Our deck wants early defensive monsters to potentially save some health, as well as something that synergizes with Wingmantle Chaplain and also finds some sort of white source to cast the Wingmantle Chaplain, especially if we're simply a black-green deck that's trying to utilize the Wingmantle Chaplain. So let's pick this up here. All right, getting deeper into the pack, we have access to a Nail. Nail is going to be cool if you have Domain. Now, Domain, it's going to give you some sort of benefit for having all 5 of the basic land types on your board. So everything from white, blue, black, red to green. I think that Nail is an interesting card, and I wouldn't fault anybody for taking this. It's also an uncommon, very, very powerful card if you can get that to work. I think at the moment, though, we're pretty set on just being our 2-color deck, maybe playing a Wingmantle Chaplain. So here, this Deathbloom Gardener is something that I'm quite excited about. 3 mana, 1/1 Death Touch, and then you can also tap it to add a mana of any color. So this is going to be not only a removal spell a large amount of the time, but also it's going to ramp us mana-wise into some of the more expensive things that we're looking for. And once again, it fixes for Wingmantle Chaplain. So it's going to take up Deathbloom Gardener. Pick it up here. Tribute to Urborg. It's a fine card. I think it's less exciting if we don't have any access to blue mana for the kicker spell. But even at 2 mana, it's a -2/-2. It's a fine combat trick. It's a fine removal spell. Let's go ahead and pick it up here. Ooh, another Vine Wall. Super excited to pick up another Vine Wall for the reasons that we mentioned before. Glibbering Barricade, also good. It's a defender, which works with Wingmantle Chaplain, and again, we're a deck that goes long. I think at the moment, I'm more excited about the Vine Wall. It's going to give us more flexibility in capitalizing on the power level of this Wingmantle Chaplain. Ooh, all right. A lot of powerful cards here coming back. Deathbloom Gardener, once again, perfectly serviceable. I think in this spot, I'm going to pick up the Barricade. Barricade is going to let us sacrifice useless creatures at a later point in the game, while also synergizing with Wingmantle Chaplain. And also, these Vine Walls leave a 0/2 body behind, right? So we can actually sacrifice that for more cards. It's a way to dodge removal spells. Very, very powerful, and I'm happy to see that one come back. All right, so now we're getting to the duds, the bottom of the barrel. Here we're just going to pick up cards that we may play, but most likely none of these cards are making our deck. So gonna pick it here. On Magic Arena, it's very nice. If you don't want to see a card in your main board at the moment, you can drag it down to the sideboard here. That's going to go away. Another Giving Barricade, fantastic. And now we're getting to the bottom of the pack. You can click on this button up here, change deck layout. You're going to be able to change the view of your decks. To some players, this is more useful. You can kind of move cards around and see exactly what your deck looks like at the moment in terms of the curve. You do want to draft essentially more cards that are lower mana, less cards that are higher mana, and that's generally going to be the sort of curve you're looking for in Limited. All right, let's change it back here. Pick up this dud, put it in the board. All right, what exactly do we have here? So our rare is going to be a rare land. You can pick it up for your collection if you want. Every single card that you pick up, whether it's a premier draft or a quick draft, like the one we're in right now, will go into your collection. So we are not that excited about any of the rares or uncommons. We have another Token Miasma. I'm not exactly sure how good that's going to be in our deck. We have a lot of small monsters that also die to the Miasma. I think at the moment, I'm quite excited by picking up just another Phyrexian Rager. Phyrexian Rager is going to be very powerful. Oh, and one of the cool things about Quick Draft is that I've got a phone call. Just leave it right here. Come back. Okay, so Phyrexian Rager and Haunted Mire. These are two cards that are pretty exciting for us. The Phyrexian Rager and the Haunted Mire. So the Haunted Mire is a nice land, and we have a good amount of playables already. If we want to make our mana better, we can take that. At the same time, we have double Vine Wall to fix our color situation. I think I'm just going to take another Rager for now. Either of those picks are perfectly acceptable. So we have access to Strength of Collation and also Bone Splinters. A pump spell or a removal spell. This pump spell wants us to have access to white mana, which is once again pretty acceptable because we have double Vine Wall, and then we also have a Wingmantle Chaplain that we want to play. Also, once again, at this point in the draft, what we're looking at are essentially, the black and green cards, sometimes looking at the white cards if there are no black and green cards. So that's going to be your best way to kind of go into a draft. Once you find yourself in 2 colors that you're happy with, you can essentially start looking at only those 2 colors. So I am going to pick up Strength of Collation. It's a fine pump spell in green. And again, if we have access to white mana, then we can go ahead and utilize the kicker ability. The kicker ability is going to put a counter on each of our creatures as well. And we're making a lot of creatures, right? We have these Raiders that replace themselves. When you play it, you draw a card. We have Wingmantle Chaplain makes 1/1s. Namada, whenever things die, you're also making 1/1s. So a lot of synergy in our deck at the moment. Okay, so we have access to a Cut Down. I think it's a pretty efficient removal spell. 1-mana instant, destroy target creature with total power and toughness 5 or less. Let's go and take this. All right, out of the black and green cards, interesting. We have a Battlefly Swarm, which is both evasion and also removal. You can pay 1 black to give a death touch, and you can trade off with something of your opponents, especially, like a big monster, something like Mossbeard Ancients. Or we have access to picking a Phyrexian Vivisector. Phyrexian Vivisector, also pretty powerful. We have a lot of stuff here. We're interested in things dying as well. I think we're just going to go in and pick up the Phyrexian Vivisector. Whenever our things die, we're going to get to scry 1. We're going to be able to control what we draw and prevent either our flood out or find more lands if we need it as well. Wow, Tadiova, really, really powerful card here. You could take this and splash it with the Vine Walls, so you could add some blue mana in your deck as well and play this. One of the most powerful uncommons in the set, Tadiova. In this situation, though, we're just going to pick up a removal spell. Just follow Bread. This is going to be 100% making our deck. It is a black and green card. We are black and green. We are going to get to exile something, and it is a very unconditional removal spell for 4 mana in our deck. So let's go and take that. Wow, another Strength of the Collation. I think that's pretty cool. Once again, we are going pretty wide. We have a lot of monsters. We have a lot of cards that replace themselves, and we're making flying tokens. So another Strength of the Collation. Very welcome here. Ooh, another Vine Wall. Let's just keep picking up all these Vine Walls. I think that it is pretty powerful. So we have a nice Defender sub-theme going on. We have a lot of creatures. We have ways to sacrifice them once they're no longer useful. Battle Rage Blessing. We're likely not going to play this, but if we feel like we need some sort of spell to blank our opponent's removal spells, Battle Rage Blessing is acceptable. Okay, so just go ahead and pick cards that we may play. I think that Snare Spinner, this card's the most likely card for us to play. But ultimately, bottom of the barrel, these cards don't matter too much. Phyrexian Vivisector. Let's pick up another one here. All right, Shadow Prophecy. This is a card draw spell. We likely don't need it, but we do have ways to recuperate the life loss from Shadow Prophecy. In here, as you can see, we have 22 cards. We have 22 cards and no lands at the moment. If we pick up Shadow Prophecy, that'll be 23 cards out of 40. So in limited formats, 40 cards is going to be your minimum deck size, as opposed to 60 in constructed formats. And generally, the ratio that you're going to want to run is 17 lands. Okay, so 17 out of the 40 is going to be your go-to for land amount. And the cool thing about Magic Arena as well is that it does have an auto land feature. It's going to go ahead and suggest to you what it thinks is best for your deck. Wow, Archangel of Wrath. That's a really powerful one. It is double white. However, we do have these Vine Walls. So Archangel of Wrath, 4 mana, 3/4. And then you can kicker it multiple times, black and red, in order to deal 2 damage to any target. So if you pay both black and red, you're going to deal 2 damage, deal 2 damage. And again, since Archangel of Wrath has lifelink, you're also going to gain life from that damage as well. So Archangel of Wrath, it is extremely strong. That is going to be the B of Bread. We also are a black-green deck splashing white. But since we have this Deathwing Gardener that fixes for white, triple Vine Wall that fixes for white, and also a Salvage Mana Worker that we picked up in the end of the last pack, if we really wanted to, we could play this Archangel of Wrath as well. So let's go ahead and pick it up. Very powerful. Wouldn't fault anybody for picking up a removal spell. Extinguish the Light, as we mentioned before. Another Giving Barricade. This is fine, but I think it's not necessary. We already have 2. Pick up his Archangel here. So, Phyrexian Rager, wow, another Tadiova. Tadiova would have been cool as well. You could have picked up Tadiova and maybe played some blue sources and had, a bunch of mana fixing for double Tadiova. Though, I think our deck is already good, so I'm pretty happy to just continue on being main black-green and then potentially playing Archangel of Wrath and Chaplain. Blight Pile, Phyrexian Rager, Shielded Wall Sentinel. All of these cards are very exciting for us. Now, the thing is that Shielded Wall Sentinel, even though it's a lower rarity than Blight Pile, aka easier to get, it serves a very important function for us in our deck. It not only can help us fix mana by going to grab a Vine Wall, but also it grabs us one of our biggest bombs, which is Wingmail Chaplain. And I think that's what we're going to go for, Shielded Wall Sentinel here. We're a little bit lacking in removal spells. Bite Down is a removal spell. It's going to let one of our guys deal damage to another one of the opponent's creatures at instant speed. But in a way, I think that you need less removal spells if you have just, a good curve, you have blockers, we have some combat tricks. Shield Wall Sentinel is gonna be a very important role for us. Wow, another Wingman Chaplain. Oh my goodness. Having 2 Wingman Chaplains means that we're definitely playing white. We're likely going to stretch our mana just a little bit for the Archangel of Wrath as well. So in Magic the Gathering, we're going to call that a splash. We're just going to have a little bit of this color in our deck, which is a black-green deck. Another Urborg's Repossession as well. Urborg's Repossession essentially represents more Wingman Chaplains, more Archangel of Wraths, more Namadas. So this is a card that we're going to hope comes back. But we are going to take a Wingman Chaplain. I think none of these cards are likely going to be making our deck. We can just pick whatever we like here. Let's pick up another removal spell. I don't think we're going to need it, but acceptable. All right, so we're getting to the bottom of the pack here. We have a Chaotic Transformation, which is a red rare. It's not that powerful, but it is a rare. I think in this pack, I'm not that excited about picking up any of these other cards. We're just going to rare draft. Let's just take this for our collection. So we're very good on the amount of playables we have. I think that this is a good time to just pick up a Haunted Mire. This is going to make our mana a little bit better. It's going to just smoothen out the issues of having access to certain colors in our deck. Not excited about any of these cards. Just pick any card. We're not playing these. All right, so this is going to be pick 8. This is going to be the last new pack we see in this draft. Relic of Legends seems acceptable. We don't have a lot of legendaries, but it is a decent way to fix mana, and our deck is pretty powerful. I think we can go ahead and speculate on that. So let's just grab this. It's essentially a mana rock in our deck. Scout the Wilderness. Scout the Wilderness is going to be a fixing type card, and we have very powerful stuff. We have Archangel Wrath, double Wingman Chaplain. So let's just go ahead and pick up the Scout the Wilderness. We're likely going to play it as well. Wow, the Tadiova comes back. That's insane. Once again, I think this deck would have been very cool with double Tadiova. But our deck is already powerful, and we care about defenders. So Blight Pile is going to let us deal damage equal to the number of defenders we control. And we have a lot of them. So very happy to have that back as well. Wow, another Scout the Wilderness or Barricade. So either of these picks are completely acceptable. We can go for the defender theme. We can go for fixing for these. I think it's fine just to pick up another Barricade here. Either of these picks are acceptable. But since we are interested in mana fixing, but we don't have that high of a curve, I don't really care that much about Scout the Wilderness. Okay. Just go ahead and pick up cards here. These are going to be the duds of the pack. And then here we're going to get into the deck building portion. So you can take your time and build the perfect deck. You can go ask your friends maybe if you need a second opinion on how exactly you want to build your deck. Here we're going to try to get it down to 40 cards with 17 lands. So looking at the cards we're not that interested in, I think these Tribute to Urborgs are not that exciting because we don't have access to the blue mana for the kicker. So these are cards that I'm not going to be that interested in. They are removal spells, but they're not going to be effective as often as we would like them to be. So Battle Rage Blessing, I think that we don't necessarily need Battle Rage Blessing. We don't have important stuff to protect. Like the moment we play these out, I think they've kind of done their job already. We don't necessarily need to protect them. So I don't think we need Miasma either because we're a very good deck that is defensive with creatures. For example, this is a 3-mana 2/4. The stat line is extremely beefy. Not a lot is going to be able to get through that anyways. Let's just go ahead and cut Choking Miasma. So we have Double Strength of Collation, very powerful card, especially together with 2 Wingman Chaplains. And again, Namada makes a lot of stuff, and we just have a lot of stuff in general. So we do want to keep these if possible. I think our mana is quite good as well. We have 1 dual land here, and we have 3 Vine Walls, which once again search for lands. So for that reason, I'm actually going to pass the Salvage Mana Worker. I think our mana is already good enough. We don't actually need to fix our mana in that way. And in the same way, I think Relic of Legends and Scout the Wilderness are actually not that exciting either, because our mana is not that intense, and we have ways to fix mana. So let's go ahead and cut Relic of Legends and Scout the Wilderness. I don't think we need those. Deathwind Gardener is going to be a little bit different. It's also functioning as a removal spell in our deck, so I'm quite happy with this one as a way to fix our mana and also to prolong the game. Out of the cards we can cut, I think Shadow Prophecy is not that exciting. We have ways to get cards with Gibbering Barricade, and also Vivisectors are not that exciting either. So I think in this spot, you can you can basically cut any of these cards. Also, Snare Spinner I think is not that exciting. This thing does have reach and it can block flyers, but we're fine with flyers since we have 2 Wingmantle Chaplains. Let's gonna cut the Snare Spinner. And I think the last card we're gonna cut is probably just one of these Vivisectors. This was not that necessary for our deck. Let's keep this card advantage. Card draw card because we not only have sustain, this has life gain, this has life gain, this has life gain on it. Also because we want to be able to utilize our mana. With 3 Vine Walls, we are going to have access to a lot of lands, raw lands. So Shadow Prophecy is going to allow us to not fizzle out and find some important things when we need it. All right. So that's going to be the deck here. Once again, you see that Magic Arena has assorted our lands for us. But if you want to change that at all, you can go up here. There's going to be this button. It's going to represent the land button. And then you can change your lands manually and also pick the basic card art variant that you like. All right, let's jump into the games. All right, looks like we found an opponent. So even though the drafts themselves are untimed and are not with real players for the quick draft, the players that you play against are also quick drafters. So they were in a quick draft of their own, and these are 100% real people. All right, deciding the mulligan. Let's go ahead and keep this. All right, let's play this land first. It comes in tapped. All right, I'm gonna play an untapped land and just go ahead and play our 2-drop here. Now, next turn, we have our decision of 3 drops to play. In general, you want to play your creatures first before playing your non-creatures like Shadow Prophecy. So here, let's go ahead and make an attack. All right, play your land. Let's play Phyrexian Rager. Opponent could have a counter spell here, which is acceptable. We're still gonna play this. We don't mind if this gets countered, but we also just want to continue using our mana. He or she who uses more mana wins a game. So it looks like opponent's holding up something again. Let's go ahead and attack here. So Gibbering Barricade is mana efficient. However, we haven't played our land for the turn yet. I am just going to Shadow Prophecy right now. And let's see if we can find a land. So we don't find a land, which is fine, I guess. We can either grab a defender for these Wingmantle Chaplains, or we can grab Deathmoon Gardener. Or we can grab them both here. Because I forgot. Okay, so let's just grab these both here. Alright, we have a 4th land here. That's nice. Let's go ahead and attack here. Looks like opponent's going to be holding in more counter magic, but that's acceptable. Let's just... I'll still play Deathmoon Gardener. If our opponent doesn't have a counter spell, that's going to be better. But at some point, we will draw white mana to play our stuff anyways. Alright, opponent being very defensive here. Not sure what they're scared of, but I'm sure that they were hurt in the past. Alright, we're dealing them a lot of damage with this random Vivisector here. Yeah. I really don't know. Really don't know what opponent is up to here, but I'm sure that they've got a plan. I'm sure that they've got a plan. It might not be a great one, but I'm sure that there's a plan. So we have a removal spell here. If opponent plays anything, we'll likely be able to remove it, continue attacking. But mainly, we're just trying to buy time until we can play these. So once again, we're just a very simple 2-color deck with 3rd color. Okay, so this has Ward 2. If we don't find an untapped land, we won't be able to kill this because we have to pay an additional 2 to kill that. I think even though we drew an untapped land and we can kick the Terra Sunder to remove this and get it for 2, it's probably better just to play Wingmantle Chaplain here. Let's just go ahead and play Wingmantle Chaplain into Wingmantle Chaplain and see if we can win that way. Alright, so opponent played 3 Essence Scatters already, countering our creatures. I'm going to assume that they likely don't have more. My opponent's making an attack here. I'm not sure exactly why, but alright. Looks like opponent's going to play another creature here to block my Vivisector. Larian Terror. It's likely that my opponent doesn't have any more removal spell, like any more counter spells, but we'll just have to see here. Alright, let's play Wingmantle Chaplain. Alright, so these work very well together where we're going to be getting a lot of birds. Every other defender that we get every other defender that we play are also going to make a lot of birds too. So here we're just going to attack for 2. We're going to try to be defensive while winning with Blight Pile activation. So Blight Pile, each opponent loses X life, where X is the number of defender creatures we control. So we have 3 at the moment. So I feel like we're in a very good spot. We have 6 power of evasive attackers in the sky. And then that should be pretty reasonable to close out this game. Now, we don't want to take too much damage, but with 1 card in our opponent's hand, they likely can never kill us here. This is block with a Vivisector. I think that's acceptable. And just keep our defenders around so our Blight Pile still can do a lot of damage. All right, so there is a lifelink trick in the format. They could potentially give Tolarian Terror lifelink, which is once again acceptable. Let's go ahead and see what our top card is. All right, we definitely don't want a Swamp. Let's put it at the bottom. All right, let's go ahead and activate Blight Pile, end of the opponent's turn, since this is an instant speed activation, speed ability. All right, that's very funny. So Vine Wall is going to be able to make us more birds as well with Wingmantle Chaplain. Okay, so the deck is very sweet. You can kind of see how, for the most part, even though we don't have a lot of dual lands, we have fixing in terms of Vine Wall and also cards like Deathbloom Gardener. Just an extremely powerful deck that is mainly a 2-color deck, but we are utilizing the splash of the Wingmantle Chaplains. Just one of the best cards of the set. So if you take anything away from the set, this card is very good. But once again, it's important to find your own path, to explore and see what's possible. Drafting is one of those formats where you can not only express yourself through creativity, but also express yourself skill-wise. In my opinion, quick drafts are one of the best inventions of modern day Magic the Gathering. The flexibility and also utility it provides in teaching you a new format and being able to take your time and read the cards is something that I value very highly. It adds something very special to drafting, and it is now available on Magic the Gathering Arena. Go check it out and see what you can come up with. Good luck.